Sellers, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. These are going to be all of the things that buyers do not like in houses when they are walking through. So I'm here as the messenger. I want you to know what to stay away from if you plan on remodeling. And I also want you to know that I don't expect you to go rip all these things out or take care of all of these items if you put your house on the market. It is what it is. You're appealing to the masses. You can't please everybody. And if you plan on staying in your house for a very long time, then maybe you're just watching this video for fun. All right. The first thing, the most hated thing, the most obvious comment that I always hear is multiple floorings throughout the house. It literally becomes a joke. When I take buyers through, they're noticing the first flooring, the second flooring, and then the third flooring. And then it's when we get to that fourth flooring that it just doesn't make sense. Because when we're walking through, for example, larger Paradise Valley homes, what they're seeing is the seller took out the carpet to replace it with a tile or a wood or travertine, whatever they're putting in, to match what was already there. But the colors don't match, whether they're trying to match the wood directly. The styles don't match. Like, it is so obvious that carpet was there. What they should have done is ripped everything out and done a cohesive flooring throughout. That would make the most sense. That also costs the most money. But you have to think about it in the sense that when a seller is putting their house on the market, they are used to all of their crap, including the flaws. They don't see a reason to redo the entire flooring. Whatever, no, but somebody's gonna come in here and rip it out. Well, if somebody's gonna come in here and rip it out, they're also gonna pay that number that requires to have it ripped out. So the bottom line here is if you are going to be making any flooring choices before you put your house on the market, make sure that it is a cohesive color, style, and material. Otherwise, it's going to be a no, or the price will be reduced to reflect a flooring credit. The second thing that buyers hate the most is cheap and or inexpensive flooring in a multi-million-dollar house. Of course it doesn't make sense. The house is worth millions of dollars and the seller or the homeowner decided to put in a luxury vinyl plank or even a laminate. I understand that we all have that fear that we're going to spend the money and then our kids, our dogs, whoever are going to ruin the flooring. But an engineered hardwood floor it's absolutely beautiful. It's a stunning texture. You can feel the quality. There just is something to it that is much more elevated than luxury vinyl plank, more elevated than laminate, obviously, and more elevated than a tile. It is something that belongs in a multi-million-dollar house, and it is very obvious when the homeowner kind of went on the cheap side. And I'm not trying to be rude. I understand that everything costs money and it's expensive. And if it wasn't important to you, perhaps it won't be important to the next person. But it's just the standard that goes with selling a multi-million-dollar house. People want the expensive finishes in an expensive house. This rolls right into the third thing that buyers hate, which is cheap and inexpensive cabinets in a multi-million-dollar house. There is nothing worse, which yes, I have seen it, being in a multi-million-dollar house and you open the cabinets and it says IKEA. No offense to IKEA, but it does not belong in a $4 million house. And their sign, their logo is right there when you open it. There is no way of getting around it. When we're getting into $4 million houses and up, you want somebody like Bulltop that is clean, sleek, modern. It has the name on the hinge. You can touch it and you know it is quality. That is placing trust in the buyer's mind, heart, and soul. They know that everything else in that house was probably done to a high quality level simply because of the cabinet choice. And I know that sellers and homeowners think that it doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. But it does matter. You know, at this point, like I always say, we're selling a product, and that product has to create and evoke a feeling in a buyer to make them want to purchase the house. If somebody is asking $5 million for a house and you walk in and we have the cheap floors, we have multiple floorings throughout, they open the cabinets and they say IKEA, buyers are going to think you're insane and completely ludicrous for asking for such a high number, right? And you're going to say, well, we're looking at location, we're looking at the view, we're looking at the lot size, like we are looking at other things. But that's not what buyers are looking at. So if you are going to be doing a remodel, a renovation, anything to your kitchen and bathroom cabinets throughout the house, I highly suggest going with something that's a little bit more reputable than IKEA and a multi-million-dollar house. The fourth thing buyers do not love is color saturation. We all know what white looks like on a maximum level, where it's white floors, white cabinets, white walls, a white ceiling. There's no warmth. It feels completely sterile. And what happens? People walk in and they feel like they're in a hospital. And I have sold one place like that. I did stage it and I put in all of the burnt oranges, the sages, whatever the yellow mustard color is, like just the earth warm tones, some dark rose pink colors, trying to warm it up. And no matter what I did, that one piece of feedback was always, it feels sterile. It feels like a hospital. But that's how these people lived. That is the sellers. That's how the sellers lived. That is what they liked. They actually remodeled their next house to match the condo that I sold. And we marketed it as the cloud in the sky because it was so white. And the people who purchased it did end up redoing the entire thing. But I know that that's a very particular taste, all white, but you have to remember that that's not for everybody. We're trying to sell the house, again, can't please everybody, but also trying to appeal to the masses. Another color that's definitely on its way out is gray. Gray is so 2015 to 2000, I don't even know what year it ended, 2022, 2023. I would say there is too much gray in a lot of houses that were remodeled in that less than 10-year span. And it's like you walk in and you just know, like you immediately think of Joanna Gaines. You immediately think of farmhouse. You immediately just, maybe for me because I work in real estate, but it just takes me right back to the years that I was selling when white and gray was the color. So the houses that still have gray, if you are choosing a new paint color, please do not choose gray. And again, not trying to offend you or offend the color gray. I just want you to know neutral, white, a creamy white, something that is not going to even make the buyer think that the walls need to be painted. When we can market the house and say fresh paint, we're choosing a color that makes sense. We're not choosing a color that buyers are going to feel is trending out. All right, number 5 on the list is actually my absolute favorite. Buyers hate manual shades. This one cracks me up because when you walk into those huge houses in Arcadia, in Paradise Valley, or in Miami, and they see the chain, they look at me and say, Lauren, am I supposed to go around and hand close every single shade in this house? And we just kind of start laughing at like the image of like, it's the worst. And again, it's for the price point. For a price point of $2 million, $3 million, $4 million up, there needs to be electric shades. It should be a button that says all on. It should be a button that says all off, and whatever's in between, right? The remote control to fix everything else. Also, the shades need to have a blackout shade where it's appropriate. So in a bedroom, or perhaps if it's like a fishbowl thing, like maybe you live on the water, you live in a condo where everybody can see in, you want to have the ability to have one to block the sun, but also for privacy. So electric shades are a big thing in very expensive houses. And if it's something that is a non-negotiable for you, I would definitely say if you're on the lower end of a house, it's still going to be a very impressive flex. If it's something you're willing to drop the money into, I'm going to say go for it because you can never go wrong with electric shades. The 6th item on the list is built-ins. Buyers are just over it. I don't know how else to say it. They are so dated. You walk in and you know the house was built in the 1980s or the 1990s. And on top of it, it's not like a cabinet or a dresser where you can move the shelves. These are built-in shelves. How we live today in 2026 is not reflective of the time when those were built. Let's just talk about the television, for example. A TV used to be a little bit more narrow and very deep. Now TVs are very thin and very wide. Built-ins from the 80s and 90s do not allow for the TV today to be installed into the built-in. Number 7 on the list, I don't really know a workaround for this because most houses have them. Buyers don't really like or want or need a dining room anymore. I hear this one over and over. When we are walking through houses, it really actually doesn't matter on the size. Yes, people need a place to eat their food, but they don't need a formal dining room anymore. And if you have the vision, the time, the money, and the effort to perhaps turn that dining room into something else, such as an office, such as a library or a bar or a studio of some sort. I don't know what it can be because obviously everybody has different tastes, but making sure that that dining room could be seen as something else depends on the size. That would be the most helpful thing. And I don't really know how to get around this one. I'm just sharing what I hear on almost every single showing is like, this is a waste of space. What would I do with this room? And that's terrible to say. Like, we used to love dining rooms, right? But you have to get creative. And again, it takes time, money, and effort to figure out exactly what you can do, how that space can be turned into valuable space. And it's going to be a project. I don't really know what to say. Or you're just going to buy a dining room table set and let it sit there. And number 8 on the list of things that buyers no longer love in a house are barn doors. I kind of get it. They don't really serve a purpose. They don't block out noise. Yes, visually there's privacy, but there's no audible privacy. And that, I think, is what people don't love about them. But it also is a space saver, which is a huge plus. So perhaps consider taking off the barn doors and putting in pocket doors. I think that if you get a good quality of pocket door, like a good dense wood, you would be able to have a little bit more of that audible protection instead of a barn door that just slides and you have the space on the sides and everybody can hear everything. I don't know, just the look. It's hard to say because it was so in for so long and everybody loved them and they really are a genius invention. But in 2026, it's trending out. And if you are looking for a hidden equity agent in your city, please reach out and I will put you in touch with a hidden equity vetted real estate agent.